verse 1 to 8. The Lord said to Moses, "Tell the Israelites to bring me an offering. You are to receive the offering for me from everyone whose heart prompts them to give. These are the offerings you are to receive from them: gold, silver, bronze, blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, fine linen, goat hair, ram skins dyed red, and another type of durable leather, acacia wood, olive oil for the light, spices for the anointing oil, and for the fragrant incense, and onyx stones and other gems to be mounted on the ephod and breastpiece. Then let them make a sanctuary for me, and I will dwell among them." 31, verse 12 to 18. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Say to the Israelites, you must observe my Sabbath. This will be a sign between me and you for the generations to come, so that you may know that I am the Lord who makes you holy. Observe the Sabbath, because it is holy to you. Anyone who desecrates it is to be put to death. Those who do any work on that day must be cut off from their people. For 6 days work is to be done, but the seventh day is a day of Sabbath rest, holy to the Lord. Whoever does any work on the Sabbath day is to be put to death. The Israelites are to observe the Sabbath, celebrating it for the generations to come as a lasting covenant. It will be a sign between me and the Israelites forever. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, and on the seventh day he rested and was refreshed." When the Lord finished speaking to Moses on Mount Sinai, he gave him the 2 tablets of the covenant law, the tablets of stone inscribed with the finger of God. And the third reading is Exodus 35, 1 to 10. Moses assembled the whole Israelite community and said to them, "These are the things the Lord has commanded you to do. For 6 days work is to be done, but the seventh day shall be your holy day, a day of Sabbath rest to the Lord. Whoever does any work on it is to be put to death. Do not light a fire in any of your dwellings on the Sabbath day." Moses said to the whole Israelite community, "This is what the Lord has commanded. From what you have, take an offering for the Lord. Everyone who is willing is to bring to the Lord an offering of gold, silver, and bronze, blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and fine linen, goat hair, ram skins dyed red, and another type of durable leather, acacia wood, olive oil for the light, spices for the anointing oil, and for the fragrant incense, and onyx stones and other gems to be mounted on the ephod and breastpiece. All who are skilled among you are to come and make everything the Lord has commanded." Exodus 40, 17 to 38. So the tabernacle was set up on the first day of the first month in the second year. When Moses set up the tabernacle, he put the bases in place, erected the frames, inserted the crossbars, and set up the posts. Then he spread the tent over the tabernacle and put the covering over the tent, as the Lord commanded him. He took the tablets of the covenant law and placed them in the ark, attached the posts to the ark, and put the atonement cover over it. Then he brought the ark into the tabernacle and hung the shielding curtain and shielded the ark of the covenant law, as the Lord commanded him. Moses placed the table in the tent of meeting on the north side of the tabernacle outside the curtain, and set out the bread on it before the Lord, as the Lord commanded him. He placed the lampstand in the tent of meeting opposite the table on the south side of the tabernacle, and set up the lamps before the Lord, as the Lord commanded him. Moses placed the gold altar in the tent of meeting, in front of the curtain, and burned fragrant incense on it, as the Lord commanded him. Then he put up the curtain at the entrance to the tabernacle. He set the altar of burnt offering near the entrance to the tabernacle, the tent of meeting, and offered on it burnt offerings and grain offerings as the Lord commanded him. He placed the basin between the tent of meeting and the altar, and put water in it for washing. And Moses and Aaron and his sons used it to wash their hands and feet. They washed whenever they entered the tent of meeting or approached the altar, as the Lord commanded Moses. Then Moses set up the courtyard around the tabernacle and altar, and put up the curtain at the entrance to the courtyard. And so Moses finished the work. Then the cloud covered the tent of meeting, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. Moses could not enter the tent of meeting, because the cloud had settled on it, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. In all the travels of the Israelites, whenever the cloud lifted from above the tabernacle, they would set out. But if the cloud did not lift, they did not set out, until the day it lifted. So the cloud of the Lord was over the tabernacle by day, and fire was in the cloud by night, in the sight of all the Israelites during all their travels. This is God's word.
Sarah, thank you. It's a long reading, but it could have been a lot worse, is what I'm saying. It could have been a couple of hours. It's weird, isn't it? This time of year in London is odd. I was saying earlier we haven't been here for this Sunday for about 12 years. But people have done the un-Londoning thing. Is that a word? You've seen those adverts, haven't you? Un-Londoned. People shooting out their offices in chairs, finding themselves on beaches. Those are the empty seats around you. Those are the people who found themselves on beaches. I used to get very jealous of people. Do you get jealous of people at this point? They're already on holiday. I am, of course, looking at two people who come back from holiday, and that's the good thing about people when they go on holiday early, is that they also end their holiday early. And you know they have ended their holiday before you're going to end yours. And that is a good thing, isn't it? I don't know. It's hard, isn't it? Because I find that the hardest thing about holidays, though, isn't it? They have to end. They don't keep going. You know, you look forward to them all year, and then they go really quickly. And it's about halfway through the holiday that you're already starting to realise it's about to end. And so it's already kind of ended before it's ended, because you're gearing up again for it. I mean, that's a good holiday, isn't it? Sometimes there's bad holidays where you get fed up with the people you're on holiday with, and arguments come, and somebody sold you a holiday that wasn't quite right, and you get really annoyed about horrible things. The villa or the place that you're staying or the room is just nasty. I don't know, it's starting to wear on you, and you're longing for your own bed that is actually really comfortable, and this one ain't, and you want them to end. I don't think that is how the 70 elders felt last week, if you were here. Do you think? You remember that last week they were up having a meal with God on the mountain? I don't know what that meal was like, but I don't think it was a meal that they were keen to end. Do you? I mean, Michelin stars would be a thing of the past at that point. You know, the best wine, the best, it's called a bribe if you're wondering, the best meat, those sorts of things. I mean, that is something that they wouldn't have ever wanted to end with. Because they know when they're going back down the mountain, they're going to something that's not as good. They're going to relationships that aren't as good. They're going to a place that is not full of peace, that is chaotic, with a group of people that are chaotic. I mean, and the problem is that even as Moses went up that mountain and stayed there for a bit, the problem was the mountain doesn't get to go with them, does it? They get to come down from the mountain, it doesn't last forever, and it doesn't go with them. And so they are going to move off from that mountain. And so it's a bit like our holidays in that sense. It comes to an end and it's then gone. And that is why we need what they understood as the tabernacle. They needed God to dwell with them. In chapter 33, we didn't have this read, it's what's going to be looked at next week, but 33 verse 14 says this: "The Lord replied, my presence will go with you, and I will give you rest." That is what they needed. That is the reason we've got so many chapters and so exacting descriptions of the tabernacle, because they needed this. They needed God to dwell with them so that they could have rest, which is the thing that they were created for. You remember on the seventh day God rested. It was how creation was formed, that he would get to rest in a perfect relationship with his people, in a perfect relationship with the world and everything around. It would just be genuine peace. Relationally, spiritually, physically, there would be real peace. It's what we long for, it's what we think will happen in our holidays, and it ends. But as you get this description of this tabernacle, you realise how dangerous this thing is, and how dangerous it is to have God dwelling with you. It's the first chunk. He tells us all about this tabernacle in the first chunk of our passage, and the second chunk he talks about how they're going to put it up, and they put it up well. But in the first chunk you realise as he describes this thing that it is a dangerous thing to have God dwelling with you. You realise that even from the start. He says these words in 25 verse 8. "Then let them make a sanctuary for me, and I will dwell among them. Make this tabernacle and all its furnishings exactly like the pattern I will show you." When things have to be exact, there's often a reason, isn't there? And as he goes through, it's exactly like the pattern on the mountain, exactly like this. It has to be done exactly. And often that's the case, because if you don't do it exactly, then things go bad or wrong. What left in my onion? It's very sad. I don't know if this is a thing of danger in your household. Is this a thing of danger in your household? Yeah? It's been known in my household at points that people would put on ski masks and ski gloves to enact with this thing. Has nobody's got to that level? Some people. It's painful, isn't it? And it's the reason God clothed it with things that cover it from being, this is not, I can look at that. Look how courageous I am. You can do that, it's fine. Because I haven't broken through its layers. As soon as you break through the layers of it, it's bad, isn't it? Because there's a power in there that causes pain. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? Yeah. That's like the tabernacle, okay? Similar. But as you read through, the simplest way to think about these passages is that you've got just a dwelling where God is at his holy place, right in the centre, and out of that are protected layers to enable him to stay safely with his people. And it's super dangerous to get anywhere near this middle bit. This is the Holy of Holies. Angels guard this bit. There's an atonement cover that goes over this bit. Don't get anywhere near that bit. And then curtains get formed around it, and different things, different curtains get produced, and then other layers get added on so that it makes it safe for God's people. And as you go through these chapters, that's basically what is going on. You get gold in the middle and a holy, holy place, and then you get silver on the outside, and bronze comes, and you get these layers of coverings, and it gets less holy as you get out and more safe. But very dangerous in the middle. But not just that, not just is the tabernacle, the tent, a terrifying, portable danger zone, if you like, and it's covered in these layers to make it safe for the people. Actually, the priest is covered in layers as well to make it safe for him to bring the presence of the people close to God. And again, you'll do the descriptions of all the things the priest has to wear with undergarments and the garments, and it's a lot of stuff to put on, is there to protect him and the people from God's presence, because it's dangerous. And on top of all of that, then you get descriptions of the sacrifices that need to be made and the washings that he needs to do. All of this to enable him to be safe and not to die when he enters his presence, the presence of the But now, as he dwells amidst this crazy group of people, there needs to be all these levels of protection. Because he's dangerous. Because there's an incredible amount of power that he holds because of his holiness. Now that's a bad thing and a good thing, isn't it? It's not like onion is just bad and bad, isn't it? It's powerful, it makes you cry, that's not a good thing, it's just bad. But it's a good thing that God is this dangerous and this powerful. Because this is how the passage ends. That whole section ends by talking about rest. Talking about the fact that he is the one who's able to make us holy, which is to dwell in his presence and to experience this rest. It talks about the fact that he is the one who's been able to do it since the creation of the world, because that's what he did. And after creating everything, he rested and refreshed himself and enjoyed it. He's that powerful to bring it about. So it's not really like an onion, it's more like a nuclear reactor. It's that sort of thing. I mean, I love to think of the you know those bomb squads? That's how I think of somebody going close to a nuclear reactor. I know they don't know that sort of stuff, but that's how I like to think about it. That's how I like to think about the priest. You know those bomb squad guys who wear those ridiculous things and coverings all over? That's how I like to think of the priests. As they get closer and closer to the nuclear reactor, or this bomb, that is covered in many things, and there's a very exacting way you need to come into closeness with this. Because it's powerful. Nuclear power stations can power cities, can't they? They can also destroy cities. They can't. And so, it is a tent, but it's a very dangerous tent. Because it's able to produce, God is able to produce something that is insanely awesome. That power can kill you, and they're warned again and again that they might die if they do things wrong. But that power can bring rest. Rest that no other power can bring for us. A rest where everything is in its right place and peace. Actually, a rest that is described, as you see in the pictures of this tabernacle being built, as if it's a Garden of Eden where he has brought the heavens and the earth together as one, and everything works in perfect harmony. And to bring those two things that don't really work well together into one, that requires huge amounts of power, isn't it? And that's where the danger is. But that's where the life and the joy is as well. Such that when you get to the end of Exodus, rest again is on the agenda. That's what he talks about. As I top and tell the readings for each of these sections, that when you get to the end of the book again, you get the picture of rest, and he talks about the Sabbath again in chapter 35. He talks about that is what's on offer for them, to have rest. If they build this tabernacle, if they make this offering, did you see that list of things? There's a lot of gold, there's a lot of silver, and bronze, and jewels, and emeralds, and skins, and onyx stones, and all those things. If they're willing to do it right, bring all these offerings at huge expense. There was a ton of gold for a tent. It was a good tent. There was a ton of gold that went into this tent. But you can imagine the amount of money that required from a group of people that were just in slavery and came out. That is an offering, isn't it? Well, in the second chunk, if you like, right at the end of Exodus, they've been told how to build this tent, and they must do it exactly right because it's dangerous. And then at the end, we see them building this tent with the offerings that they have made, and they do it exactly right. They do it perfectly. I was trying to work people are just perfect. Again. Alcaraz talks about playing on grass. This is before the final. Alcaraz talks about playing on grass. It's very hard to get the movement right, but when you get the movement right, it's like flying, he said. I'm sure it wasn't like flying in the final, it was like falling. But before that, it was like flying. Well, all the way through these chapters, at the end of Exodus, it's like people are flying. Just perfect. Every single step. Everything is done as the Lord commanded. As the Lord commanded. As the Lord commanded. Do you know what? They brought so many offerings that Moses had. The skilled labourer said, there's too much gold. There's too much silver. There is too much. Stop the people offering so much stuff. And Moses had to go and tell them, stop bringing so many. Nigel hasn't done that yet. He hasn't got up and said, it's too much money. There's just way too much money. Stop it now. Just have a few months off. It doesn't happen, does it? That doesn't happen, ever. But that's what was happening with the people. They were flying. Everything was perfect. And at the end, once Moses has sort of seen that they've done a perfect job in building every article that is needed and everything, Moses then takes over, having blessed the people, and he puts it in place. That's the bit we had read. Everything as the Lord commanded, in the right place. And the emphasis as you go through those last chapters is of these curtains being put in place. God declares the curtains need to go in place. There's 3 of them. One outside the Holy of Holies, which is in the middle of the tent. One at the front of the tent, a curtain. And then the one at the front of the courtyard that is around the tent, another curtain. And at every stage, Moses gets everything exactly in place and closes the curtain. The Holy of Holies is done. Then the holy part, with the lamp and all of that stuff. And then he closes the curtain, and that is done, as the Lord commanded. And then the last one, the courtyard, he closes the curtain, and it is done, just as the Lord commanded. Curtains are great, aren't they? Because there's that hope they will be opened. You know, it's a temporary thing. It's easy to get through. There's that joy of like, maybe I can get through and enter the presence of the Lord. But did you notice how Exodus ends? It ends with them being at a distance from the Lord. Did you see that? Such joy, then the cloud, verse 34 of chapter 40, then the cloud covered the tent of meeting, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. It's awesome. He's come to dwell in the midst of his people. He's there, and it's filled the whole place. Verse 35, Moses could not enter the tent of the meeting. He could not go there. He couldn't open the curtains and enter through and meet with the Lord. He did it a while ago. He went up the mountain and he went in. But now we've got the mountain on wheels and he's with us all the time and he's moving, but we can't now go in. Not even Moses can go in. And so he's at a distance from us. The curtain has firmly been closed to block us out from the Lord. Which is hard, isn't it? Because it said even our best efforts are not going to be enough. They were flying, doing everything perfectly, and even that wasn't going to be enough to bring them back into the presence of the Lord. We'll see what they did next week. We'll see why there was such a change next week. But even all of that they did, it was so perfect, they strived so amazingly. We think this sometimes, don't we? If I just strive harder, things will, this is what I say to Lisa, next year I'll be better because I want to sort it all out this year. That's how it works. So if we just strive harder, then it will be sorted. But it doesn't get better than this for the Israelites. They never get to this perfection stage ever again. Like, this is perfect. And it's not enough. And they're cut out. And yet there is still hope because the tabernacle is with them, the cloud is with them, God's presence is with them, and they follow him. And there is a hope that with following him might lead to a place of rest. That's what they're hoping for. They haven't got it at the moment, but they're hoping that they might still get there, to this place of rest. And that takes us to Matthew's Gospel. Because it's quite a long journey. It's thousands of years journey. Thankfully they've done it and we haven't had to. But it's not until you get to Jesus dying on the cross that we get to be allowed in again. And Matthew's Gospel picks up all the Exodus language. It says this when Jesus died on the cross. From noon in Matthew 27. I think it's on page 999 of your Bibles. It's the same as mine. I think it is. Matthew 27 verse 45 says this. From noon until 3 in the afternoon, darkness came over all the land. Do you remember that in the plagues? The last plague of darkness coming over all the land except the Israelites part? Not now. Darkness is over absolutely everything. You remember before it was just the Egyptians that deserved all these plagues and they deserved to be cursed and die. And now it's everybody. It's the Israelites too. It's over the whole land. Everybody is deserving death. And then that death falls on Jesus, the one who doesn't deserve it. And takes it in our place. And then what happens? Verse 50. When Jesus had cried out again in a loud voice, he gave up his spirit. At that moment, the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. At that moment, all those curtains ripped. It's actually the Holy of Holies one. That massive one, it's in the temple, it's a building now, it's even bigger. Like it's huge. That one is ripped. So that they can now go in. So that we can now dwell with the Lord. So that we can now experience rest. Because of what Jesus had done. Until that moment, we couldn't. Until that moment, it was all about what we end up doing, which is that striving and trying to bring it about, thinking that we might be powerful enough to be able to do it. And then constantly realization, year after year, at the end of the holiday, or whatever it is for you, December, I don't know, realizing that it didn't work this year, but maybe next year. And it didn't work this year, but maybe next year. And it's humbling, isn't it? Because you realise you're not powerful enough, you're not scary enough, you're not dangerous. None of those things to bring it about. But here is one who is dangerous enough. And he's no longer at a distance anymore, because Jesus has taken on all the punishment, and he's opened up the curtain and opened up the door so we can be in his presence and we can be there safely for eternity. And so we get to call him Father now. It's the Lord's Prayer, isn't it? We've been waiting to find out how can we dare call him Abba Father. How can we call him our Father in heaven, as we're told to in the Sermon on the Mount. And here we get the reason for it. We can now call him Father, because opening up that curtain is a bit like, it's the curtain to the bedroom or the door to the bedroom. We have a lock on ours now because we have young kids, but they're getting older, still want a lock on that bedroom door. But with kids, is this right? There's not many people who can run into your bedroom and just jump on your bed freely. I hope there's not too many people who do that. But normally, with the kids, that's the freedom they get, isn't it? That's the access that they have. It's annoying when it's early. But still, that's the access they have, isn't it? Well, that's the picture. God has opened the bedroom door, and as a father, he's ripped open the curtain, he's allowed us to come jumping in. To be able to call him Father. Not a father who demands us to achieve things, and then we will be accepted and honoured. Not a father. A father who accepts us, knowing we can't achieve anything. Knowing that we can't achieve his acceptance. He doesn't require it because he's done it for us. And so all of that shame now is gone, all of that fear now is gone, all of that striving is gone. And all that we now have is the embrace of him gathering us up in his arms and experiencing what real rest is like. And yet if you're anything like me, you're unwilling to really properly accept that. Is that fair? You still think you've got to please people. You still think you've got to do certain things. You still think that if you do something wrong, he might be upset with you, might not listen to you anymore while we're praying anyway now. Maybe I should come to church. And yet he's not quite that, is he? Because the curtain has been picked up. Actually, at the end of Matthew's Gospel, they come to him on the mountain and they bow down in front of him and worship him. Because here is one who has done the impossible thing, bringing about access to the Lord for us to call him Father. But even more than that, he has brought about heaven and earth being united together as one. You get a little prelude of lots of people who were dead rising to life again and running around Jerusalem. It's really weird. But then you get the big one, which is seeing Jesus on the mountain. That's where they go. They see him, and they see heaven and earth united together in one person. They see him. And then he rises and ascends to heaven. They see him uniting those things perfectly. And whereas he now physically in his Father's presence in the heavenly realms, uniting the earth and the heaven together perfectly as one. It's not will it happen, it's already happened. That rest that we can appreciate now spiritually, relationally with the Father, is something that we're going to perfectly experience physically with him. And we can be confident of it because it's already happened. And he's already done it. It already exists. We're just waiting for him to come back and take us there. But if you're anything like me, as I said before, you need help. Which is why he ends Matthew's Gospel. That's actually why Matthew's Gospel is written the way it's written in a way that describes us following Jesus. He is the one doing these things, and we're following him to become like him and to do it, to disciple others like he disciples us. And at the end of Matthew's Gospel, he declares it to us to go out and to make disciples of all nations. Just like he did, saying the words that he said, doing the deeds that he did, doing it compassionately, persevering through the suffering of it, expecting the victory that is to come and not now, but is in the future. And he draws us into that because he knows we're really still struggling to believe it, that we can have rest in his presence. And so, here's the challenge for us. Try and persuade yourself and then the person next to you. You've got to start with yourself. It's a bit hypocritical, isn't it? You don't try and persuade somebody else or something you don't need. Try and persuade yourself each day that he really does love you. That you really can rest. You don't have to achieve his approval. Try and persuade somebody this Sunday, maybe somebody sitting next to you, that is the case. You're not going to do it, right? Just to spoil the ending. You're not going to they're not going to be fully persuaded. I pray, and I hope you're praying, I pray that they become more persuaded. But they're still going to have moments of doubt. But what you're doing is just trying to persuade them that this really is the case, that you can dwell with the Lord and he's accepted you. And it's enough. And you can have rest. And then try and persuade somebody else here that is the case. Okay? And then here's the beautiful thing. Then try and persuade somebody who's not here that that's the case. Because London is nothing but constant running around trying to do it, isn't it? It's quite fun, the energy of it and all of that, but it's a constant running around trying to achieve this rest. And Londoners don't, I don't think you get that phrase, if you don't take a Sabbath rest, we'll kill you. That probably doesn't happen loads in London. How dare you not have holiday? Or deduct pay. Maybe it happens a little bit, it's a good thing to have holiday. But it's a strange thing, isn't it? he's saying to us is, we need to stop. Not because in that stopping of having a holiday we'll find real rest. No, but to remember that rest is only found in the